best attended race of the FIM Sidecar World Championship campaign comes from the historic Cathedral of Motorsport, the TT Circuit Assen. The Dutch round is the fourth stop on the 2019 calendar and provides the first of 3 races in 7 days as we head ever closer to our championship climax. It's been 4 weeks since Sidecar's last World Championship outing, Oschersleben in Germany, the 3rd round of the season, protagonised by Reeves and Wilkes. They provided the entertainment in the sprint race, carving their way through the field to a 2nd consecutive victory. Having qualified just 3rd, Reeves and Wilkes first made their way past Paiva and Vera down the inside at the start of lap 4. Then they stalked race leaders Ben and Tom Birchall, who faded in the final 2 laps, and a well-executed move on the Zeppelin curve gave the number 77 the lead for the first time. A rare German Grand Prix victory for the duo who last won around Oschersleben in 2016. Ben and Tom Birchall dropping 12 points behind in the series standings with 2nds, Paiva and Vera a disappointing and distant 3rds. In the gold race, Reeves and Wilkes had even more work to do, losing 3rd off the line and forced to recover on the opening lap against Schlosser and Fries. Any hopes of producing a hat-trick of consecutive wins faded though, as they suffered from mechanical problems that halted their progress on the circuit's longest straight. Twice, Reeves and Wilkes passed Paiva and Vera only to lose the position again across the start-finish line. The Finns started to look good for their best results since their opening race victory in France. Ultimately, though, the number 44 lacked the might to go with the leaders in Oschersleben. Once Reeves and Wilkes settled down in the closing stages, they were able to capitalise on lap traffic and come through for 20 valuable championship points. A straightforward victory for Ben and Tom Birchall, the action all behind them, with Reeves and Wilkes involved in all of the weekend's drama. The gap between the top 2 outfits is reduced back to 7 points at the season's halfway mark. With consistent results over the last 2 rounds, positions 3 to 5 have been consolidated. Results further down the field, though, continue to be as unpredictable as ever. The FIM Sidecar World Championship arrives in Assen at its 2019 equator. 5 races gone and 5 still to go, including the well-attended 17-lap Dutch round. The first half of the season has established a clear pecking order, although top spot remains hotly contested, and so too the minor placings. For example, 5 outfits are separated by just 10 points in the battle for 6th. Whiston and Hoffer once held the place, but having struggled out the Pannonia Ring and missed the trip to Oschersleben, they have work to do at the famous TT circuit. We had some engine problems in Hungary. We were struggling with the oil temperatures, but we think we've got on top of it now. We changed pretty much the entire system. We weren't happy with our qualifying here. This isn't really our favourite track, but we were working hard, so we feel out of position down in 11th. We hope to move forward in the race. Positions 4 and 5 ahead in the standings look settled. Another Swiss duo, Schlosser and Fries, isolated from the chasing pack, but also dropped by the regular podium trio, who locked out the top 3 places over 4 races in Hungary and Germany. Paiva and Vera are also starting to become estranged from the title fight, with 4 third places in a row since victory at the season opener in Le Mans. Of course, we want to battle for first position, but all we can do is push harder and hope for a little bit of luck. The target is still the championship. The favourites for gold in 2019 have locked out the top 2 positions over the last 4 races, scoring identical totals in Hungary and Germany. As evenly matched as these 2 British duos are, there's still the small matter of a points difference dating back to the French round in April.
7 points behind, so there's still a lot of races to go. There's still 5 races to go, so it's all to play for still, you know. This time last year, I think we were 50 points down and we still managed to win the championship, so you never know. We just keep pushing and trying our best every time.
We didn't think that the bike was where it needed to be, so we've had a really hard 2 weeks work to make some changes in preparation for here, so it feels really good. It feels much more like how I want it to feel, and we can work with it a lot better now.
You just need to be reliable, really. That's the main thing. You know, you can't afford to drop a race, and I'm sure that the winner of the World Championship will come from whoever stays the most reliablest. So it's very close between three of us, and we've just got to keep going, really. We can't. If you have a breakdown, that's it. It's finished. So we have to just make sure we stay reliable.
With no margin for error, the second half of the 2019 season gets underway in Assen. Race 6 of 10 in the 2019 FIM Sidecar World Championship, the Dutch round from the 4.5-kilometre TT Circuit Assen. The crowd estimated at over 80,000 for the duel in the series crown. Bynum and Birchall start from pole for the fourth consecutive round. Series rivals Reeves and Wilkes and Paiva and Vera completing the front row. Mechanical problems for the Finns in qualifying. They finished Q2 over 2 seconds off the pace, but expect to be in contention after a long Saturday night of work. Also plenty of overnight effort for Schlosser and Russo, who suffered a collision in the session, but had already set a time fast enough for P4, their best grid slot of 2019. Manuel Moreau is back on the grid for the first time in the 600cc era, having made his last appearance at the 2016 French Grand Prix. His new passenger, Sébastien Arifon, makes his World Championship debut. A successful start then, with 6th on the grid for them. Problems on the line for Moreau and Arifon, but the light sequence is already underway and they're off. So the French duo really losing out from the outside of the third row, down from 6th to about 10th. Schlosser and Fries already starting to make the expected progress from 8th on the grid, 6th at turn 1, getting past L'Église and Clément. But it's as you were at the front. Paiva and Vera making the fastest start, but trapped back in third as Reeves and Wilkes look to the inside for the lead into turn 3. Both caught offline, and the flying Finns come through. Paiva and Vera from nowhere, taking advantage of a bit of argy-bargy between the British duos. Can Reeves and Wilkes now settle back down in the vain slang to challenge for the lead? Tom Birchall furious with the number 77 outfit, waving his fist as the new top two dice it out on the back straight. Schlosser and Fries closing in to challenge for 5th, side by side for 10th place. Moreau and Arifon recovering, but Reeves and Wilkes have picked it up. 3 different leaders already on lap 1, but it's the men at the top of the championship who have hit the front in determined style. No doubt about it, the title favourites touched around the northern loop, and that allowed Paiva and Vera to come through. The Finns now running second. Still Schlosser and Fries bearing down on Sam and Adam Christie for 5th. The Swiss duo fastest overall in a wet Q1, but in dry conditions couldn't get a decent run in the second session and are now forced to battle their way through. The lead trio already stretching away from home hero Benish and his partner Kevin Russo. Their fight realistically for 4th, but the top 3 as close as you like in the final sector of this opening lap. Will anyone make a move in front of the packed grandstand at the Timur Chicane? Paiva and Vera cut to the inside. Brilliant! An outstanding move from 4-time world champion Pekka Paiva to recover first place. Both outfits behind into the slipstream as they head back to turn 1 for the second time. Schlosser and Fries have now made it past Sam and Adam Christie, but are a second back from Stroy and Russo in the race for 4th. Bennett and Birchall feinting to the inside there at the start of lap 2, but not quite close enough. They'll be desperately keen to pass Reeves and Wilkes before they make a real attack on Paiva and Vera. They won't want an outfit between them and their main rivals. The vain slang, the next real overtaking opportunity, set up through De Strubben. A 3-outfit fight for 5th place as well. L'Église and Clément bringing themselves back into contention. Moreau and Arifon back up to 8th. Paiva and Vera got great drive off turn 5 and they look safe this time around. It's Ben and Tom Birchall getting a nice double toe, side by side through turn 6. The Birchall's on the outside for 7. A robust defence from Reeves and Wilkes. And all the while, these two fighting it out is giving Paiva and Vera some breathing room up front. Not a lot in it, mind you, as they head off turn 8 and into the 3rd sector. Schlosser and Fries starting to break away now from Sam and Adam Christie and go after Stroyer and Russo, but our focus is on this lead trio who've swapped and changed plenty in the early stages here in Assen and show no signs of easing up. Ben and Tom Birchall absolutely pegged now to the back of Reeves and Wilkes as they come through turns 10 and 11. An unconventional passing place, but the Birchall Racing Yamaha absolutely glued to the tarmac and through they go. This time it was their turn to be aggressive. Reeves and Wilkes had to run outside of track limits to stay in the race. We see it again here. No love lost between these two, and it's no holds barred as ever, but they're allowing Paiva and Vera to settle into a decent rhythm now up front. Less than a second covering all three of them as we start lap 3. Birchall with a new fastest lap of the race, a 1:45.392 last lap around, just over a tenth faster than the leaders, who will surely come under pressure here. A massive step forward for Paiva and Vera, who were well off the pace yesterday, but have certainly come to the party here. The Birchall brothers winners last time out in Oschersleben, looking to take their first back-to-back victories of 2019 as they stalk their prey through De Strubben. Really tight now for fourth place as well. Streuer and Russo have dropped back into the path of Schlosser and Fries, and the two teams behind have come with the Swiss pair, a four-outfit fight. But it's side-by-side up front. Ben and Tom Birchall fighting Paiva and Vera. Schlosser and Fries trying to copy them. The Birchalls are through. From first to third and back to lead it once again. Can Paiva respond as he did previously against Reeves and Wilkes on the opening lap? Ben and Tom Birchall need to watch for that move into the git, Timur chicane, or simply pull clear between now and then. Schlosser and Fries ahead of Streuer and Russo, so they must have got the job done down the Veinslang as well. Schlosser and Fries 4 consecutive races, taking the flag in fourth, so that really is where we'd expected them to be, but it's bad news for Benish at his home race. His wait for a top 4 finish looks set to continue. The Birchall brothers appear to have the legs up front. Paiva and Vera struggling now to stay with them. So Reeves and Wilkes will want to leapfrog the Finns as quickly as possible and not allow the number 16 to build any buffer in the lead. Into the Ram's Hook. Many riders' favourite corner on this circuit, a high-speed left before the stadium section here in Assen. Great action so far. Still 13 laps remaining at the Dutch Sidecar Grand Prix, and the race is far from over. But Ben and Tom Birchall lead it by a second with the fastest lap in their pockets and the outright pace advantage. Paiva and Vera set a personal best last time around, but can still only defend against Reeves and Wilkes, whose speed is being veiled here by a lack of clear air. Track conditions better than they were at any time yesterday. The time's faster, but how long can the leaders run at this demanding rhythm? Tyre wear may well prove a factor later on. Through De Strubben again, that's where Reeves and Wilkes set up their lap 1 move on Paiva and Vera, remember, and they've got a good run on lap 5. We switch to the battle for 6th. Leglise and Clement, with a new personal best on lap 4, gained 3/10 on Sam and Adam Christie, and are now looking for a way through. Not quite close enough this time, but Reeves and Wilkes have moved past into seconds, and now we really have a race on our hands. They can try to set sail and challenge for the lead. Time for our favourites to duel again out in front. Disappointment for Paiva and Vera, our underdogs leading on the opening 2 laps, but with no answer to the top-end speed of their rivals, and they've had to settle back into third for now at least. Reeves and Wilkes ducking out of the slipstream into turn 6. Here it is again, exactly what they needed. Leglise and Clement finally up to 6th. On the timing screen, they were 7th at the end of lap 9, so they must have just made that move into turn 1. But it's one they've been threatening for some time. Streuer and Russo will be their next target in P5. This fight taking place well back from Schlosser and Fries, who very much settled 4th position. But a great effort from Leglise and Clement so far. 8th, their best finish to date in 2019. And a decent haul of points here could put them into the top 10 in the series overall, and potentially even back into that fight for 6th in the world. Home outfit Endeveld may hold that ranking, but sit down in 9th on track. Back with the leaders. A slow middle sector last lap for Reeves and Wilkes. That's left them adrift somewhat of Ben and Tom Birchall. But the number 77 had the pace until then to reduce the gap. We're more than half of the way through this race here in Assen. Plenty yet to be decided. Visibly, that deficit reduced on lap 10 as the Team Berlin Express ramps up the pressure. Just a second between the lead outfits, as there has been for much of what's been an entertaining race. Leglise and Clement through on Streuer and Russo. We've just caught the end of it by the looks of things, so 2 passes in 1 lap for the number 33 now. Up to a brilliant 5th. Great racing right the way through the field. There's been a battle for 12th, a 3-way squabble for 8th. But in the top 6 positions alone, more changes than you can count on 2 hands. Assen once again delivering. Big weekend for Streuer and Russo, this, particularly after their gold race retirement in Germany. 20 points back from 5th in the championship, and now only 1 place ahead of their main rivals, Sam and Adam Christie. A 1:45.4 set by both of our leaders on lap 10. Reeves and Wilkes making mere fractions last time around. The pace dropping off for them now, having been the only outfit to run 4 consecutive laps in the 1-minute 44s. But Benetton Birchall too are struggling. Their slowest first sector of the race, 0.4 of a second, pulled back in the second sector. Reeves and Wilkes now within striking distance. So many times in 2019 we've been in this position, nothing to separate the leaders, even in the latter stages. Lap 11 of 17, this race is far from run, and after their lap 1 collision, there's a bit more needle between these two. Off turn 12, down high Heath and towards the Ram's Hook once again. The Geert Timur chicane still to come. One of the circuit's best overtaking zones. Benetton Birchall holding position, defending the racing line. Reeves and Wilkes switch to the inside. The number 16 will have to yield, but they'll have the speed down the start-finish straight and can eye up a move into turn 1. Perfect pass from Reeves and Wilkes, who now switch to defence, running the inside alongside the pit boards at the start of lap 12, covering off Benetton Birchall fairly and immaculately. Well executed from the championship leaders. Here it is again, a block pass into the chicane. Too narrow for sidecars to run side by side there, and a smooth defence into turn 1. Back with the fight for 5th, Straw and Russo have recovered the place, and Leglis and Clement, who made up 2 positions on lap 10, now look vulnerable on lap 12. The French duo closed the door well there at turn 1, but they lost a full second last time around, so need to steady the ship swiftly here. It really was a case of the number 33 losing ground rather than the number 4 making it. But Straw and Russo found a bit of extra pace after 2 slower laps, and they've recovered P5. The leaders, meanwhile, having to defend. Tim Reeves looking over his shoulder as they head to turn 9. Benetton Birchall certainly have the cornering speed, but where is best to try and make a move? Through the long right-handers next. Turns 10 and 11. They got up alongside here earlier in the race, and it's almost side by side once again. Reeves and Wilkes certainly determined to hold on, nothing between them. Incredible bravery, and the leaders just moving across determinedly into turn 13. Benetton Birchall not going away, but they had to back out of it, and their early bid for position has left them too far back now into the Geert Timur chicane on lap 12. 5 laps still to go for Reeves and Wilkes, looking for their 3rd victory in 6 races. They haven't dropped from the top 2 places in 2019 and don't look like doing so here. Paiva and Vera closing back in slightly to their credit, but 3 seconds down. Benetton Birchall have got a great run. Reeves and Wilkes have the inside. Last of the late breakers into turn 1. The Birchalls yield, but neither outfit makes the corner. The number 16 Yamaha's not going to like that, because the 77 ran off the track altogether to defend that position and left their rivals with nowhere to go. Reeves and Wilkes doing what they needed to do. They're still up front, but the leaders have cost one another time there. Paiva and Vera cruising back towards them. Straw and Russo slow on this lap so far. Leglis and Clement have stuck with them, and we still have our 3-way fight for 5th. They come onto the start-finish straight on lap 14. Line astern. Who will be the first to blink? Straw and Russo, the only outfit without the slipstream advantage. Leglis and Clement choose the inside. They're through early. Straw and Russo want the cutback, but the French duo drive well off turn 1 and reach turn 2 ahead. Job done. More fairing banging at the front meanwhile. Reeves and Wilkes shaking the Birchall brothers off on turn 6 as the leaders approach the backmarkers, absorbed in their own fight for 13th. Ruts and Fries moving aside at turn 8, but the Birchalls are held back. Reeves and Wilkes now chasing Kinswenger and Lenert through in straightforward fashion. Benetton Birchall taking to the grass to get round the number 56, and they head into the braking zone directly behind the outfit that at the moment is lapping slowest on the track. A real disaster for them, meeting lap traffic at just the wrong moment. They've got a bigger problem now holding off Paiva and Vera than chasing the race leaders. The Birchalls held up on every corner between 8 and 12. The Finns need to strike while the iron's hot. Finally an opportunity to pass Kinswenger and Lenert, who've played an unwitting but crucial role in this race. The number 44 has the run, but no way through into the high-speed Ram's Hook. Are they close enough into the Geert Timur chicane? The Birchall shut them down. But Reeves and Wilkes have taken advantage and bolted. Next to lap for them is the number 48 of Dombanovsky and Ricola. And they'll meet them on the start-finish straight as we move into lap 15, and they couldn't have timed it better. The cards have all fallen for our race leaders. Paiva and Vera to the inside, smoking under braking, close to piling up the back of Benetton Birchall, who are fired up now in defence of second. Stror and Russo have found a second wind in this race. Leglise and Clement haven't dropped their pace, but throughout this lap they've been forced to defend. Over the line to start lap 16, urged on by the crowd. The Team Stroyer Kawasaki ducking to the inside in the battle for 4th position. A 1:46.9. Where did they pull that lap from? That's not far from the leader's pace. Stror and Russo certainly keeping their powder dry, but they've used it explosively with less than 2 laps remaining. Further up the road, the race for second, and this one has settled down. Paiva and Vera able to match the Birchall's pace, but not to better it. Still the prospect of change in the closing stages for 5th. Stror and Russo haven't exactly escaped away. Sam and Adam Christie right back with the 2 outfits in front of them as well. But no change up front. Reeves and Wilkes have led quite superbly since lap 11. Discussions about the fight between the top 2 will continue, I'm sure, long after this race. But for the 3rd time this season, the 25 points are heading to the Team Berlin Express. Bynum, Birchall unfortunate with backmarker traffic, but really have taken the fight to them. This championship is far from over. Paiva and Vera playing their part as well. But through the final turn, it's Reeves and Wilkes who win in Assen. The Finns restricted to 3rd, with Bynum, Birchall home in 2nd. Schlosser and Fries will be 4th. And the race for 5th going on right to the line. Stror and Russo will take it. Sam and Adam Christie coming on strong late on, but held to 6th. Leglise and Clement running out of steam in the final reckoning in 7th.
Good job, bro. Nice one.
Aside from the battle for 5th, gaps extended on the final lap of 17 in Assen. Battery problems were the cause of the slow start for Moreau and Arifan, and although at one stage they recovered to 8th, they eventually finished 10th.
Yeah, we had a good start. With the few first laps we went to the lead, but made a little mistake. Then one get past, second get past, and we tried to fight back, but then there was too much gap. But yeah, it was a good fight, but not enough.
I don't think that was a fair fight, and I think something should be done about it. This is a sport that's non-contact, and it's supposed to be safety is supposed to be upheld by the officials, and we put our trust in them. And when people behave like that on track and jeopardise my life and his life, then I'll think twice about coming back.
For some reason, early on at the first few laps, my bike wouldn't handle on cold tyres. It was terrible, and then about lap 6, it came back to life, and I managed to chase Pekka, pass Pekka, chase Ben, caught Ben, and then the fight was on. And when I got there, my back tyre was a little bit gone, so I was trying to save my tyre when I got behind him, and I had to wait for the right time, and I waited until I could see some tail enders in front, and I thought I've got to try and use the back markers to help us, and it worked.
No change in the pecking order for the top 5. The absence of Sattler and Neubert, though, for a full overhaul of their sidecar drops them out of the race for 6th in the series. 6 outfits separated by 12 points in that battle. The 4th race in 5 with the same podium. Bynum, Birchall 2nd to Reeves and Wilkes, who now lead by 12 points overall. Sidecar returns in just a week's time, when the sprint race will be back on the menu, and the rivalry between the big 2 will take on further spice.